Welcome to Keep What You Earn, your judgment and jargon-free zone for entrepreneurs of all levels. Get ready to learn how to scale your business, save money in taxes, and create a business that grows your wealth. If it feels like the financial side of business is like eating your vegetables, well, then think of this podcast as the ranch dressing to make the process a little more enjoyable. My name is Shannon Weinstein. I'm a CPA and business owner on a mission to simplify money and empower others through knowledge. I hope this episode inspires you to take action, but remember that the information we share is for educational purposes only and is not individual tax advice. Now that we got that out of the way, let's start the show. You know, one of the things that small business owners fear a lot is a bad review. And I mean, I get it. I totally get it. And one of the things that can drive business is your rating on Yelp, Facebook, Google My Business, whatever it may be. And you could be looking at that like, oh my God, it's like throwing graffiti on your sign when someone writes you a bad review. And I want you to listen to this when you get a bad review, because I want you to kind of take the emotion out of the equation for a second and just realize that there's a really good way to deal with bad reviews, and you can actually spin it in your favor. A bad review is actually a great opportunity for you in two ways, actually three. One is to actually implement feedback, to actually listen to it and see where you can improve and see if it's valid. Another one is to showcase how you can respond to that review. And another one beyond that is really reflect on how you react to that bad review and examine yourself, examine your own emotional maturity to deal with that review and to deal with the feedback. You know, are you able to distance yourself from it? Are you able to really consider the validity of it? Are you able to objectively agree or disagree without getting offended or feeling rejection? What comes up for you when you see that review? Do you take it personally? Should you take it personally? And is this really a valid piece of feedback? Going back to, is it constructive, and is this an opportunity to actually implement something? But what I really want to unpack is the other one, which is your opportunity to respond. This is what triggered me to want to have this episode, because I've seen a lot of, even accountants more recently, hearing about bad reviews that people posted. And they were really concerned with these, oh my God, if I don't give a refund to someone, they say they're going to write a bad review. Like, they're blackmailing you. That's blackmail. And if you don't act like you care, then they have no leverage on you. They have no leverage. Very often people will use, I'm going to write a bad review, as a threat for you to do something for them that maybe is outside the scope of your contract or maybe goes above and beyond for them. And I would encourage you not to give in to that whenever you can. Now, I understand that there's other circumstances, that things you have to do to preserve the relationship, preserve the business with that person. But if they're just simply threatening you with a bad review, let them write it. Make it known that that's okay. You can express your rightful opinion on whatever form you so choose. I'm not going to get in your way of that. And if someone does write a bad review about you, here's my advice, because I've seen it happen time and time again with my husband. It's happened to me a couple times. Luckily, not very often, but I do see it for clients. I see their reactions and I see what it does, and I want to help them with it. So this is a huge opportunity when you get a bad review to actually spin it back. I personally find, as a consumer, and maybe you agree with me or not, that how a company responds to the bad comments or the bad reviews is actually a really telltale sign, really good telltale sign of how they are as a company and what their brand is. So one thing I would always do is never bring ego into it. I would always, as my mentor Mike used to put it, begin with the end in mind, which is from another quote, but beginning with the end in mind, in the sense that, what are you looking to achieve by responding to this? Like, you're not just trying to discredit them. It makes you look bad. It makes you look bad when you argue or you show up immaturely to that review. The best thing you can do is acknowledge and apologize for whatever you feel like apologizing for. Sometimes it's just saying, sorry you felt that way, or sorry you perceived your experience this way. You really can't argue with feeling, but what you can do is say, in my opinion, we've made every best effort to accommodate your requests, and we would appreciate an opportunity to make it right if you would get in contact with us directly. Something like that, right? Depending on what your business is, of course. And if you want to, you can even, you can state a couple of facts in there if you'd like, but ultimately I would not get argumentative or try to contradict the review too strongly. I would instead respond very promptly, very professionally, with a lot of compassion, and I would dive into it with the thought of, if someone reads this, they'll see I responded quickly and immediately wanted to discuss it with them separately. Personally, I like that because it doesn't showcase or air your dirty laundry. It shows that you're looking to solve the problem and solve it quickly. And to be honest with you, I don't think we all have to be that worried about bad reviews. I really don't. I think that we overemphasize its importance because it's a showcase. It's like airing a scar on us. Like I said, graffiti on your sign. It's something that we take personally. And I don't think we need to. I really think we can just take a step back and go, yeah, it's just a review. And, frankly, one bad review on a website or a service or whatever it is, or a bad comment, I'm like, well, at least it's real. At least it's not a fabricated 5-star, like all their friends and family went and did that. I actually looked to go, is there like one or 2-star reviews? Like, are there a handful of people who are just difficult that maybe reviewed this place? And let's be real. Anyone who's going to bother being vocal about how they feel about your business was either asked to do a testimonial by you. Ideally, they would do this themselves, but they don't. Like, people don't generally go online for fun and write good reviews, which, by the way, I would encourage all of you to go do, to set some time aside, maybe once a month, every other week, and just think about whose business you've used that you could say thank you in the form of a review or testimonial. Anytime I try out a new business and I have an enjoyable experience, I ask them on what platform I can leave a nice review, because that goes a really long way for a small business owner. And it can neutralize a bad review or something that they had happen that day. It can help make their day. So I would encourage you to mark some time on your calendar to just express some gratitude to small business owners you know and use. So, on that note, if you're the recipient of a negative review, then again, you could take that as an opportunity, respond with grace, with compassion, and you can also use it as an opportunity to show that your reviews are real. And I personally like it. I like seeing those because it shows contrast. It shows that you're used to dealing with tricky clients. And for the most part, if I'm reading it as a consumer, I'm like, yeah, some clients are just assholes. Like, some clients are just really impatient, going through some stuff, and they're really vocal on the negative. They're not as vocal on the positive. And I don't know why. I mean, I kind of know why, but when you're really impassioned, like when you're really heated about something in a negative way, you're going to go into every minute detail as to how they wronged you and like look for evidence, right, to justify your feelings. And that's okay. That's our reaction naturally. And then what's funny is, on the contrary, the positive reviews are usually short, like enjoyable experience, thumbs up, or loved my time there, LOL, exclamation point, whatever, right? We're like shorthanding it. We are cutting it short. We're cutting it down to like one or two sentences, not even real sentences. But when we have a negative review, we will write Pride and Prejudice on the damn Yelp review. And no one's going to read all that. No one's really going to bother reading all of it. I also doubt that a lot of consumers are making informed decisions based on one-star review or one small bad review. I generally don't. I've still engaged businesses, and I'm sure you have as well, that had like 2, 3-star averages. Like, I've still engaged them because I'm like, well, it's a convenient location. I know the person. It was recommended by a friend. Like, there are overriding influences over and above some type of online review from a stranger. So if you do end up getting something with a negative review, just remember that you're probably assigning more weight to it than anyone ever will. The impact to your business is, the majority of it is your emotion, because the amount of time you'll invest in just simmering with this review and letting it bother you, letting it get to you, letting it seep in and go deeper. The amount of time that you're going to go through that is far more than the amount of time, in my opinion, in my experience, it's far more than the amount of time that anyone's going to spend bothering to read it or making a decision about your business. I just think that's a fact. I don't think anyone is going to take it that seriously. And especially if it's really bad or really accusatory, There's a couple things you can do. Obviously, you could talk to your lawyer if it's really bad, or if there's something seriously, something serious is being accused there. But generally, the crazier it sounds or the more, intense that it sounds, the worse the person who wrote it sounds. The worse it paints a picture of them. So use that perspective. Take a good hard look at your reaction to these types of things, to feedback, and understand that this happens to everybody. And I'll give you one more little tip too, that if you really aren't the best at consuming feedback and you tend to absorb it, you tend to let it seep in, you tend to get affected by it. While you are working on that, which I encourage you to do, while you are working on that, I would suggest that you have someone on your team that is interfacing with all of that. You have somebody on your team who can read all those reviews, somebody on your team who can collect the feedback and filter it down to the really helpful stuff for you. And perhaps let you know if there are some negative reviews coming up, just that they exist. Don't have to read them, but just that they exist and how you want them to handle it quickly. I think there's a great way to handle that. And I think there's a great way to incorporate that into your processes so that you don't really have to get exposed to it, take it personally, or have it affect you emotionally. Now, I don't say stick your head in the sand, but if this really affects how you conduct your business, then I would definitely encourage you to find a way to create a barrier between that emotion and you so that you can continue running your business, trusting your gut, not letting it get to you, and not letting it influence you too much. I hope you found today's episode helpful. A little bit of advice on dealing with bad reviews. If you have any other thoughts, if you have any stories to share, please let me know. Shoot me a text message. My number is 860-609-6374. I would love to chat with you more about this and let me know what you've seen in the past, what you've dealt with, and how you handled it. I love hearing stories from you guys. I appreciate it. Did you enjoy this episode but want to explore more on this topic? Or maybe you have questions for me and our guests. One of the best parts of doing this podcast is interacting with you in the Keep What You Earn community. This community is a completely free resource for you to ask questions, chat about our episodes, and to connect with us on our monthly calls. Yes, all for free. We host this community on a platform called Circle, so you won't be bogged down by Facebook notifications or get your posts buried in the mix. So click the link in the show notes to join us in the community right now. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and review on your podcast platform. This small action goes a long way for podcasters to get our message heard by more business owners just like you. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to information about our guests and ways to get in touch with me. We'll see you on the next episode.